Cool. Hi, everybody. So my talk is on what can I build with .NET. Obviously, I run the .NET user group in York. So that's some stuff about me. I'm not really that interesting. If you want to find me, I'm usually wearing lots of swag, so like Alexa socks, MongoDB, hoodies, anything going really. This is probably the best thing I've ever got, I think. It's from MongoDB. It's great. It's a nice scarf. But yeah, I have some blogs and stuff like that if anybody wants to check them out as well. So to start off with, put your hand up if you know what .NET is. Quite a lot of people. Cool. So it's a bunch of like compiler languages. So you can write in any language you like, really, and it compiles down a thing called IL. And then you can use a bunch of libraries, not this kind of a library, but libraries where you can build components for programs for. So these could be things like talking to things over the network or accessing files on disk, and anything like that. And the idea is you can build any application with it. So these are a bunch of languages what it supports. The main one is C#, and that's like the fifth common language, fifth preferred language in the world for writing software. We also have things like PowerShell, which is more like for scripting, but if people have used Bash before, it's similar to that. There's F# as well, which is the functional side of .NET. And then it also supports things like Python and Ruby using IronPython and IronRuby. And then there's also Visual Basic. That's not commonly used these days, but is used for some people. But also .NET can be run on any platform. So who knows it can be run on Linux? Not that many people. Cool. So .NET can be run on any platform. So the idea is like they've got these different runtimes run on different platforms which host your application on top. One of the most common ones is the .NET framework, but this is getting out of service soon. After 4.8, they're only going to do security patches. And then everything's going to become .NET Core, and then it's going to be renamed. And then there's also Mono as well, which is for other kind of developments such as mobile phones. So as I said, it's cross-platform, so you can run it on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. You can also run it on other hardware as well, and I'll show that in a minute. But they're the free premium ones, what people use to actually code up their software. So let's just go through a few things what people can build with .NET. So you can build websites, and you can build different types of websites as well. So you can build like server-side rendered websites where it actually generates the actual markup on the server. And you can also build SPA websites. So you can actually write .NET code and no JavaScript whatsoever, and it'll just run inside the browser as like a normal JavaScript website. Also, we can create lots of APIs with them as well. These could be REST APIs, gRPC APIs, SOAP APIs, or any kind of other kind of way we can communicate to other software. So we can talk from one bit of software to another bit of software using really any protocol. We can use the classic WinForms applications as well. So if you've got a dialog where you want to pop up on a Windows PC or even on Linux using Mono, that's possible. It also supports different types of forms. One of the more commonly things today, obviously, is tablets and phones. So you can write Xamarin apps, which you run in .NET, to run on any platform, so either on Android or iOS. And you can also run them on watches as well, the Android watches and Apple watches, sorry. So it's also built for the cloud, so they're trying to make it as small as possible. So at the moment, it's really efficient to actually run them inside containers and scale them horizontally. So you can put a lot of workload through .NET, and it's actually one of the more performant frameworks now, actually what's out there to pick. Another thing is games. So it's getting really popular in games, and Microsoft are actually putting a lot of money into games and AI at the moment. This is to push like different experiences with gaming platforms. Also machine learning, as I said, so you can take it off the shelf and write some code to actually analyze some data and give predictions. Also the Raspberry Pi, so you can run it on IoT devices, such as the Raspberry Pi, so it runs on ARM chips. So that means we can pretty much create something crazy like a machine learning game with IoT sensors and ultra-scalable containerized APIs for online gaming. So yeah, crazy. But the great thing about this is like we can build anything. So we can build like something that runs on a Raspberry Pi, something that runs on an Xbox, something that runs on my watch. And it's all the same APIs. So how I communicate over the wire or how I write files to the disk on that platform is exactly the same no where I go. So if I write an app for my watch, I could actually write the same app for actually the Raspberry Pi, and it just works exactly the same. But you're probably thinking, who builds this? So it's actually primarily Microsoft who builds it, who puts a lot of funding and investment into it, but it's actually part of the open source community. So Microsoft has invested in the last 4 years, I think it is now, into a lot of open source. And actually there's 60,000 people who have actually contributed to the .NET framework so far, from just people like us in the community, just opening pull requests up on GitHub and pushing more code back up there. And also there's 3,700 companies, excluding Microsoft, which are actually contributing to this framework as well. So it's not just what they want to build, it's actually what everybody in the world wants to build. Another thing is security. Because backed by a big player, you kind of get security updates and everything else about the box for free. You're not having to take on their platform and then you're just given it for the rest of your life to maintain yourself. They actually help you along. But tooling is a good thing to talk about as well. And I know lots of people like to use different tools. And at my work, we kind of debate who has better tools than everybody else. But one of the main products is Visual Studio, because that's a fully fledged IDE. But also there's things like Rider, which is like an IntelliJ version for C#. There's also the CLI, which is just a .NET CLI. There's VS Code, which is like a basic text editor where you can install plugins inside of. You can also get Visual Studio for Mac as well. But there's also lots of other things that run on top of OmniSharp. And these can be Emacs, Vim, Atom, Brackets, and Sublime as well. So there's loads of different tools where you can actually build .NET platforms on, and you get the same experience throughout. So I'm probably going to play that pretty quick. But I have some demos. So I hope this will work. Why does that not work? Cool. So can everybody see that? Cool. So to start off with, I've got a little board here which has an F7 micro processor on it, and it's running some .NET standard code which is making the LED flash. So I'll just show you that. It's very exciting. I would have done something more exciting, but I didn't have my soldering iron with me. So yeah, it has an LED that flashes different colors. So that's kind of cool. So another thing is this. So this is running a Raspberry Pi, and there's like a Pi with some cables behind here and stuff. So can everybody see that? Maybe I need to prop it up somehow. Height. Yeah. Cool. So back at one of the user groups we run is the Coding Dojo one, and we created a snake game. And I thought I'd extend the snake game for this kind of conference. And just extend it a bit to kind of prove we can do other crazy things. Yeah, so we created a snake game, and I decided to kind of take that code, extend it a bit further, just to prove we can do things with IoT devices and have different interactions. And the first thing I found on my desk was my my surround sound remote, and I was like, I wonder what I could do with that. I could actually make the snake game be controlled by my TV remote. So this has got an IR sensor on it, and if we run what is it? The snake game on here. This should work, hopefully. So I've got my IoT remote. It's in a paused state, and if we use the remote, we can play Snake with my my remote, which I'm terrible at playing. There we go. So yeah, so we've got. So this is a .NET application running in .NET Core, just running on Raspberry Pi with an IR sensor, which is quite cool, really, I think. So that kind of proves that we can actually build pretty much anything we want. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the end of my talk, really.